that Jeffrey Epstein was found dead early this morning from an apparent suicide while in federal custody. Mr. Epstein's death raises serious questions that must be answered.
The 66-year-old was found hanged in his cell early on Saturday morning. Epstein was about to face trial after new evidence emerged of the abuse of dozens of underage girls and over the creation of a sex trafficking network between 2002 and 2005. The New York resident could have faced up to 45 years in prison. He'd repeatedly denied all the latest charges against him. Last month, Epstein was found semi-conscious in his cell with injuries to his neck and subsequently placed on suicide watch. However, there are reports that he was taken off it some time ago. Prior to his arrest back in July, Epstein had boasted of his close ties to Britain's Duke of York, Prince Andrew, former US President Bill Clinton, and even Donald Trump. Federal prosecutors say the investigation into Epstein's alleged sex trafficking conspiracy remains ongoing. Well, let's go live now to media contributor John Griffing for more. Thanks for coming on the program, sir. Good to have you on today. Do you see any connection here between those leaked court documents being unsealed and Epstein's, or what the FBI are calling apparent suicide?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is like a cartoon at this point. Of course, he should have been on suicide watch. Of course, the camera going out wasn't an accident. And all of the high-profile names that were included in those depositions are absolutely the reason that he is no longer with us. And there should be a full-scale investigation by impartial authorities as to how Epstein killed himself.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of questions being asked. The fact there was an attempted suicide before, he's been put onto this suicide watch where, as far as I understand, inmates are watched, if not 24/7, pretty close to that. How could a person already having made an attempt to commit suicide, being put on this enhanced watch, manage to do this?
That would be, of course, the subject of the investigation. And again, high-profile names like those in those depositions would have a vested interest in preventing any further action against themselves. So I would point the finger in terms of suspect interference with the suicide watch, with those names and with those interests.
And speaking of points and figures and people to blame, NBC host Joe Scarborough has tweeted that he believes Russia may have had some sort of hand in his death. What do you make of that? Any truth perhaps in that train of thought?
Well, I've been on RT many times to talk about how ridiculous the false associations with Russia are that have been made by the Democrats. And what's, of course, so ironic about their neo-McCarthyism is that it's so baseless. So that is something I'm very, very clear on. But no, of course, there's no connection to Russia. There were far more mentions of Bill Clinton, I think, on the flight log than any suspicious, mythical, imaginary Russian agents.
Just looking at the wider political ramifications here, obviously a lot of people involved in this case. Trump's Labour Secretary Alex Acosta had to actually resign over his role in the 2008 Epstein case where he was a prosecutor. Do you think Epstein's death is going to take some of the pressure off Trump himself?
Well, Trump has been completely exonerated in any connection of a criminal nature to Epstein. He even had him escorted off his property forcibly one time when he was discovered to have been hitting on young underage women. So the president's connection to Epstein at this point should be one of prosecution of anything and anyone that were part of Epstein's illicit and just horrific affairs.
And just mentioning some of the high-profile names on the flight log, Bill Clinton, for one, he was reported to have apparently travelled on Epstein's jet with, underage girls on board.
Touched underage women. Of course, Bill Clinton has never done anything inappropriate with women, so.
Well, you'd have to ask him, I suppose. But did you expect any of Epstein's associates or, those suspected of being involved in the sex trafficking ring to be prosecuted? I mean, do you think this investigation, given Epstein's death, is it going to be helped or hindered?
I think it's going to be helped because of the outrage over what took place on this island and what took place in so many people's lives. I mean, there are so many victims of this man who can come forward, some have, and I think the fear of coming forward, too, is vastly reduced when the person who committed the crimes against them, crimes of a sexual nature, oftentimes cause the victim to hide and to not want to come forward. So this man's death might actually result in more justice, not less.
Yeah, fundamentally, obviously, the bottom line of this case, justice for those victims. John Griffing, media contributor, thanks for your time here today on RT.
Thank you.
The Iraqi government says it's close to driving the terror group Islamic State out of the country. According to the US Department of Defense, ISIL is currently strengthening in Iraq, also in Syria across the border, for one particular reason. RT's Caleb Morpin has this report.
There's a warning from the Pentagon. ISIL is bouncing back.